Welcome to RPG27. We're going to pick up where we left off. That includes things like fixing the weapon this guy has. But on a related note, it's going to be the combat manager is going to be the main focus today, and that involves having static information on weapons available so that weapons can be swapped in and out of the hands of NPCs and the player if we want. And it means having weapons information available globally so that we can use it for combat resolution. So let's get that going here as quickly as we can. I'll start that by turning this off. And I don't think there are any things that we need to fix. This is a shadow, by the way. This keeps throwing me off, the shadow of this weapon. Alright, so just to review, inside the resources folder, we have these two weapons, and I'm not sure why it's not showing the mesh information on this. This is a new version of Unity. Right now, this is 15 F1, so 2018.2.15 F1. So maybe it didn't do something. I see it also has 10 seconds left baking something. So we'll let it finish its thing here very shortly, but that doesn't stop us from getting started on the Combat Manager. Combat Manager will be another singleton, and we will create it in the scripts folder along with some of this other stuff here. So I will create a C# script, name it Combat Manager. Okay, this is just one way of doing things, but it's a convenient way of doing things. Let Visual Studio start up and bring up its combat. Hopefully it doesn't have to redo the entire project or something crazy there. Combat Manager will be a singleton, not a mono behavior. It will not be managed by Unity. So in that case there, we'll do private static combat. Oh, you're smart enough for that. Combat Manager instance equals null. There will be a private combat manager constructor. Oops, it would complete it a lot better if I gave it its parentheses, and then I'll just shift that back over there. In addition to private constructor, there is a public static combat manager instance method that will return an instance of Combat Manager. This instance right here. If instance is equal to null, instance equals new Combat Manager. Return instance. After a while, you can do this in your sleep, and now we have a singleton. And now we can go ahead and put in the singleton information. As we did in class, I'll define two public enumerations because we'll all be sharing these variables with other scripts. So the attack type enumeration, which is attack, weapon, attack, spell. So that will allow spellcasters. I don't know if we'll get that hooked up, but if we do, great. Weapon type, and the weapon type will be weapon stone pick and weapon. I guess I could go ahead and lowercase this. This is looking a little too much with the with all uppercase. Okay, weapon, stone pick, and the stone sword. See, these are just symbolic names of the weapons, so we'll be able to say, go select weapon, stone pick, weapon, stone sword. The prefix weapon is just to make it very clear to us when we use it that we're talking about a weapon type, although given how this was a change in either C# or Unity or something like that, we pretty much have to prefix all of the stuff. I mean, I could set up a using statement to make it a little cleaner. We'll consider doing that. For example, I might say using NPC using NPC Manager if I wanted to bring in some of that stuff. uh, we can always get it in the global context, but we can just add it in there. Now that I have the weapon type in there, I would like some weapon data. That will be done in a separate class. So we can put it in the same file, public class weapon data. As I did in class, I did not choose to actually put a constructor in there. Public string name, public. Yeah, so even if it's in the same file, though, I'm going to have to, I can't say weapon type here. It would actually have to say combat manager dot weapon type. So I could say using weapon combat manager up there and probably pull it in that way, but using, yeah, that would be a little weird. I wonder if I can say using mob up here. No, using directive is unnecessary, it says. All right. What I really wanted was dot. Nope, not gonna let me. All right. I'm not gonna get it. There is a way to do it, but I don't really feel the need to do that. Public mob dot skill type, and this is the skill needed. So I'll put some comments out here. Weapon skill used for this weapon. This will be the weapon enum from above, and the name of the weapon, which I don't know if we need it, but we'll have it there if we want. Public string prefab, pretty self-explanatory, the prefab to load. Prefab for weapon model. The transform adjustments for the model. So when we bring in that prefab, what transform adjustments are we going to make? There are going to be 3 of them. A vector 3 for position. Public vector 3 rotation. Public vector 3 scale. Those are the 3 parts of the transform that we'll have here. Then in class here we had the damage as ndx plus y, number of die rolls of a particular size, public int num rolls, public int roll range, public int damage offset. So that would be the y, this is the x, this is the n in that equation that's above there. Let me capitalize y so that it matches the damage offset comment there. There would be a public int speed, and this will be mainly used for weapon cooldown. Why did my C not appear? Okay, so when we swing a weapon, how long will it take before we're allowed to swing it again? I could put a constructor in. I'm going to try to avoid the constructor here to see just how well that works, and that will be okay. But now that I have the class in here, I can put my private dictionary in here, and the dictionary will have a key and a value. The key will be the weapon data, weapon type. I'm sorry, and the key will be weapon data, and this will be my weapons. And I'll assign the reference to be null, and this will be part of something we'll do inside the combat manager. Is I will say weapons equals new dictionary type weapon data, and call the constructor, and then I'll say load weapon data as a function, and then we'll come down here and load that in. Private void load weapon data. This job will be to load the dictionary up with information. We can do it one time when the Combat Manager is first referenced, so we'll load all that stuff up there, and then we'll have it in memory. I expect it to be a lot, so it's not going to be an inefficient use of our memory. We're trading off memory for convenience for a lot of this stuff, so that's fine. All right, so what will that look like? Let's look at some of our weapon stuff. First of all, let's go back out to our scene here, and let's work on the orc here in Orc Camp 1. I think you're orc number 1 here. Can't tell which orc you are. Oh, okay. You were the generic orc. Not my favorite one because I don't think he has. Okay, he doesn't have any waypoints. That's good. So he'll work. Although he's set to wander without waypoints. That's going to be a bad choice. So let's just have him stand still. And we'll worry about just that later. Normally, the other orc is the one we use for creating prefabs and updating prefabs. Okay, the question though was, does this weapon look like it's positioned correctly? One of my complaints that I had looking at that was that looking at its hand, whoa, come on, Unity. I'm trying to zero in here and it just went crazy there for a second. That handle looks like it's positioned pretty well. I think my only complaint with this is that the club, and I'll have to work my way down the model here. Spine, right shoulder, right arm, right forearm, right hand, and then the club was positioned in here. Let's create an empty game object that I will rename to primary attach. And then the transform is zeroed. The club will be reattached underneath that. Okay, that doesn't really do anything other than giving me an attachment point, but it doesn't change where the weapon is. Now I found that this was rotated the wrong way. So if I come down over here and look at this, I think this rotation here. Oh, you're fighting me. Okay, so if I rotate it that way, that's not going to look too good. I have to bring it back over here, and then I'll have to check to see, does that look like it's in the hand? It kind of does. Alright, one way to check it will be to hit play and then look at him walk around with his weapon a little bit. Except that he's not walking around, but did I just shove that thing out of the way? I think I did. I don't see that other orc. Huh, okay. I didn't know I could do that. Oh, I can. I'll have to be careful about doing that then. I don't think their AI agents are not smart to handle that. That doesn't look too good because you see if he rotated up a little bit towards his body a little bit better than that. Otherwise, I think that's pretty good. One of the way I can do that is I can pause it, and that will leave him in that position. This is a more natural pose for us to do editing on. So if you find something like that, don't try to edit it in the when he's not running his animation. Now I have the club connected. I can bring him up like that. I think that looks okay. That probably looks a little bit better. And then I'll just undo the pause and see if that looks okay. It's hard to tell from the side angle because he's not really moving around. Okay, I think I took them up a little bit too much. Okay, so that's my end result there. The problem when we do this, when it's in the game, is those information is not persistent. So I'm going to bring up the Unity or Visual Studio, and I'm going to want to copy down while I can still see it down here and up here this information. So first of all, weapons.add, how we add something to a dictionary, and it'll be a weapon type dot stone pick, which is what he has, and I will say new weapon data, and just give it nothing here. Then I'll say weapons bracket, and I can index in there by the weapon type stone pick. And let's scroll this up on the screen a little bit better. And then we can do things like say name equals stone pick. And since I'll save myself some typing of a lot of this stuff and just bring down a few of these to say what we're going to do. The weapon type is going to be this enumeration. Okay, weapon type dot stone pick. Now it's the key to the weapon field there, but if we have a particular weapon data, I don't want to have to go search for it inside the dictionary to get the key back out. So we'll store that in there. The weapon skill would be something like this would be a one-handed blunt. So that is a mob dot skill type dot and then it'd be one-handed blunt there. Okay, versus a two-handed blunt or a sharp object. Okay. In some game rules, it is routine to say that certain classes cannot use edged weapons, like priest classes. So we'll have a blunt weapons that they could use. Typically don't do the damage that edged weapons can, but they can be very good choices. Now, the transform is one of the things I'm interested in here. So position equals, and then I can just pull it out of up here. One thing that I can do is I can just say new vector 3, and then I just put in the information there. So 0.268, I don't need to take it out to too many digits there. Negative 0.122 F. Wait. Okay, that matches the second one, and 0.024 F. Okay, so that gives me a position. What's his complaint here? Weapon data doesn't have position. Did I spell it wrong? Position, yeah, I did. Okay, so there's my position. I'm going to copy this field again because, or this line, because my rotation is also going to be a vector 3. And I'll just copy this over here at negative 73.192, negative 255.024, negative 5.639 F. So that's my rotation that we'd get here. Scale is going to be an easy one. Paste that back in here. This will be scale, and the vector, I don't need to do your pop-up over what I'm typing, is 1, 1, 1. Now those are supposed to be floats, but it'll be happy to promote an integer into a float with the same value there. Then I would say something like weapons, yeah, I'll just paste this thing in here. And instead of position, now I've got the transform information in. The prefab is going to be weapons club 3. The prefab starts is relative to the resources directory. I created a separate folder for those because I don't know how many weapons I'm going to put in there, but that way I won't clutter up my resources folder too much. Put in another line here, and weapon speed equals 37. That number doesn't mean anything, but we will let it be how long it takes between swings, and that can be in tenths of a second probably. So that's be 3.7. Could I make it a float? Yeah, I could, but I think we'll come back and revisit it. Right now it's just a number. Okay, so if I were to spawn all of my orcs and then give them a weapon, I could load in the stone pick. That's one of my weapons there. Next, I'm not going to do this on the video with the other weapon types, but let me go and add in a couple of more weapon types, and then I'll restart the video. Okay, and I just wanted to show one of the weapons here that I just added in was a bow. His in the wrong hand. I'm going to mention that you'd carry the bow in your offhand and pull with your strong hand. Maybe this guy's left-handed, but this is an excellent opportunity to see what it would take to reverse the weapon. Now, do I need different transforms to put it in the other hand? I think I might, but yeah, I think it's quite possible that I will. So that I would need to have duplicate if I made them so that they could be switched between hands. For right now, we're just going to make everybody right-handed. Apologies to the left-handed people of the world, but I'm just going to default to that. And if there's time, we can make that different. But I just wanted to show you this is what it looks like when it's held in the wrong hand. I still recorded the transform information. And what I'll do is I'll create another attachment point for the other hand, and then I will I'll spawn it into the world in that other hand and see what it looks like. Or rather, what I'll do is I'll just move it over there and adjust it to see how much the transform has to change. And here you can see the bow move from one hand to the other without changing the transform information. So clearly this needs to be adjusted. So it's not as simple as just swapping the attachment points and keeping the transform information. We will need different transform. For now, what I'll do is I'll comment out that transform information. Just make a note that that's for the right hand, and then I'll put in the new one. And this is what it looks like when he has it in his left hand. I think you'd probably carry the bowstring closer to your body so that it'd be quicker to bring around and draw. I'm not really sure. I don't do that, but I want to take a look at it and see. From this angle, it doesn't look like he's actually holding it. His grip is a little too open there. Should probably be right up against this part of his hand there, right where the thumb joins the base of his palm, is probably a good orientation to hold that weapon. Not that you're going to be looking too close at it, but I want to try to get it as good because I only have to do this once. And this is the adjusted orientation here. Oops, let's just strafe around here a little bit. Careful not to touch him. That doesn't look too bad there. That's probably good enough for right now. Okay, so I have that information there. I'll try to lower the orc a little bit in the world too. He's standing a little off the ground. Also, one of the experiments I had with adjusting his height, I'm finding that by his resetting himself to the terrain height, he's undoing this. If you can take a look at this middle orc here, you'll see that I have dug him into the ground up to his waist, and yet he's still doing that. So it really doesn't matter what adjustments I make to the prefab. It could be the height map is wrong, although that was created and baked into the world. His pivot point could possibly be adjusted. I hesitate to try to do that, but let's see. oh yeah, I can set the this is setting at the here, put him back here. This is the center line, that's its pivot point. And so the pivot point's on the ground. It looks like it might be a little bit high here, and I'd have to see what could be done to adjust that. I believe the pivot is baked into the model, and the only way I could really adjust that is if I created another game object and put it above the orc, which I have done in the past, and then set its transform so it was on the ground, and then move this guy relative to the other one. I'm not ready to spend the time doing that, but let me get back to bringing the rest of the weapon models into the game. And here's the stone axe that you can see as I just sort of orbit around this guy. So that looks like a good transform there. Now the spear is huge. I mean, it really is very, very huge. And if we just look at it here, it would be, I suppose, an appropriate lance maybe, but I don't think that orcs would have lances. Well, this is an example of something I'm going to scale, and I'm going to shorten up along one of its axes. So if I look at it, I see that the y-axis is the green axis here. So if I go over to y here and I say 0.5, now it's shortened up a little bit more. That might be in a more acceptable length here. So I'm going to play with this a little bit to see if I can get it looking well. But I wanted to show you an obvious mismatch on scale here while I had the chance. This isn't bad positioning. Note that it's approximately got it balanced there. You wouldn't hold it too far back or else this weight would drop down there. So we want it to be somewhat like this. This again is about half the size that it would have been. It would have been way out here had I not scaled it. Okay, so I've added in 6 weapons here. We can see their weapon data. I haven't really adjusted the weapon speeds here, but we have a bunch of transform information here. Note again the weapon, the spear here. Oh, I have its name club down here. This is a spear, and this is actually an axe. I guess I didn't change the names on some of these there, so I'll do that. Okay, so that's what this looks like inside Visual Studio. So now we can go ahead and go forward with some of our other. Now, I mentioned in class that one of the things that I wanted to do was have the ability to equip a weapon, and that I could either ask the NPC class to equip a weapon or the mob class, and in which case they would go and find the weapon data and adjust their the transform. But the better way of doing this is actually to, I believe, to create a public method inside the Combat Manager, and this will be equip weapon, and it will take a mob type, which could include the player, and then a weapon type, and then what I will do is we have the weapon prefab. I want to create a game object which will be the weapon, or I'll say new weapon equals, and I'll say game object dot instantiate, and that will be resources dot load, and that will be the name of the weapon prefab. I'm going to get that string out of, no, I don't want to change this. I'm trying to use the arrow keys to move up here, and that's prefab equals weapons sub type dot prefab. I'm going to put it into a string here so that I can just go over here and say prefab, just to shorten it up a little bit. Okay, that will instantiate that. Oh, I should also say as game object. to recast it. The two types of casting that we can do, but game object instantiate will give us that. And then what we'll want to do is to get the attachment point. I don't know if I have that ability here in our thing. I'll just turn this off. We can see him with a spear in his hand here. Oh, really? Come on, shut off. I don't know if the NPC can do that. The NPC class, if I go and find it under would be under the scripts mobs NPC. Alright, so it doesn't really have any of that. Now I'm going to make it a class to help me out with the NPC, or maybe it should be with the mob. That's right, it's going to be with a mob here. So let me just undo those changes and close that file out so that I can see it. And the reason is the player could get a weapon too. And so what I'll do is create a public method here, public void, and this will be to get the weapon attached there. Get primary attach, and I guess that what I want there is a transform to actually return here. So this is going to be a transform that's going to return. So it's going to complain I'm not returning a transform here. Public transform get secondary attach. And so this is where we go back and look at our model here, and we see primary attach and secondary attach for our model orc. So that's what we're going to do here, is to look those up. And so what we'll do here is want to go and search the NPC that's attached. Well, there will be a game object here. So we will want to do let's see, my get game, find deep child here, and let's just transform dot find deep child returns a transform. Okay, so find deep child, and that would be return go transform find deep child, and that would be primary attach. Okay. Returns an operator, so I don't have to actually put it in here into the. I don't have to put parentheses around it. Okay, so this is the advantage of having these well-named things that I can just put in the models there. Primary and secondary attachment points, and what we'll do is, is go back to the combat manager and say, okay, after we have this, I want to get a transform, which is going to be the attach point, equals, and that would be the NPC, or the mob rather, mob dot get primary attach would be good for this. Now, how do I know if it needs a primary or secondary attach? I don't right now. So I'm going to, at the expense of the bow, just put it in the primary attach point, and then we'll go and update the weapon information a little bit later to include that. Well, I guess we could do it right now. Does the weapon have a primary or secondary attach point? Those sounds an awful lot like a public enum attach point, which would be attach primary, attach secondary, and that would be perhaps a good thing to pass in. Maybe I really want my mob to have just one of these that would take an attach point. Let's save this out for just a second and see. That would probably make this up here. Get attach point, and that would be mob dot or no, that would be part of the combat manager. Combat manager dot attach point. point, and that would mean that we would say if point equals attach primary, then we would return this. Else, I don't know why I hit return and it didn't do anything there. So I keep having that. Okay, so now we've got it down to one function here, get attach point, and then I just have to put it into the weapon information here. Save this off and say Combat Manager weapon data. We'll have a public weapon data dot. Oops, this is weapon data. Combat Manager dot attach point. Okay, and attach point is a good thing for us to do. And then I'll just go update all of these here. I'll update one of these, and then we'll do the rest of it I'll do the rest of it with the video pause so you don't watch me do this. But I'll just say attach point equals, and that would be attach point dot primary. And that will make it a primary. Everybody will have primary except for the bow. Okay, so now having done the attach points here, what I can do here is just say get attach point, and I'll want the weapon information, which is weapons type dot attach point, and that will go give me the transform for the attach point. And now I'll just say weapon dot, or that's new weapon transform dot parent. So I reparent the object equals attach point, attach point. Right, so that will attach it there, and then new weapon dot the transform dot, I want to change the local rotation equals quaternion dot Euler, and that would be weapon subtype dot rotation. Okay, so that will do that. New weapon dot transform dot local position equals, and this can just be weapons subtype dot position, and new weapon dot transform dot scale, local scale. Thank you for correcting me. That is very nice of Visual Studio there to pick that up. Type dot scale. Alright, so that will perform the equip of the weapon, and it automatically puts it into the proper hand, rescales it, repositions it, and now I should be able to tell somebody to equip a particular weapon. Now, I would love to be able to do this from the command line to switch the weapon types around. What I'll have to do in order to make that work is have a way to, from the command line, select a weapon by name. That's a good Combat Manager task to do, is to give me given a string, find the appropriate weapon type. I don't expect it to be used very often, but I think that so public weapon type get type type from string, and that would be a string type string. And then it's going to be if I can't switch off of strings, so I'll have to actually do a series of tests here, and that's type string dot, and I'll have to do a compare to, and then the value here, so that would be wood club. Whoops, have to care club. Equals 0. That would return weapon type dot wood club. Okay, so I'm going to do the rest of that. It's complaining now that I have some paths, not all paths return a value, so I'll need to make sure I have all of that. I should probably also put in an extra enumeration member here, weapon none, to indicate no such weapon. And here's the completed function here with all of it. The drawback of this is you have to use the exact names that are here, which it's not clear unless you know the source code what those names are. But this is mainly for debugging. This is for debugging so that I can just target somebody and have them equip a weapon. So let me work on that there. So this is all about making the weapons usable. Now they'll have to spawn into the world, and I'll have them select a weapon. So I might have some sort of pick a random weapon or something like that. Those are things that we could do. Or have the types, the NPC types, have their own particular weapon choices. So we'll think about that. The first thing I want to do is I want to demonstrate the spawning of weapons into the world via the command line. So here we are back in the command interpreter, and I'll just add a new command. Text equals weapon action equals on weapon equip. And we will do that. Now it's going to say it doesn't know what that is. That's fine. We'll come back down here and just pull up one of my standard functions here and make a copy of it and change its name on weapon equip. And so its guts are going to come out of there. What are we going to do with this? Well, once again, we're going to use, very much like the player aggro, we're going to use the target of the player to change the to change it. Rather than aggroing the weapon, though, I want to, and I don't know that I need to have the AI character control, but I need it to get the target out of it. Actually, I don't need this AI character control at all. The target comes right out of the player. So we can get that. I don't need a control aggro, but what I will want to do is to say combat manager dot instance dot, and then equip weapon. Equip weapon takes what? It takes a mob type, which would be the target. Do I have my player target? Player target is a game object. Now, only NPCs are going to take weapons here, so I can just say npc.gameObject. The target will be, I think, says field. I believe it's a transform. We could take a look at this. Do you don't have your target stuff, do you? I don't see a target here. So that might be an NPC, but the game object is the best way to go here. And then the other part there is going to be the combat manager weapon type. Okay, how do I get the weapon type out of that? What I will do is to take the parameter for this guy, which is the next parameter here, and I should be checking my parameters here. Up to this point, they didn't need parameters, but some of them did. Player info on GoTo is an example of here where we check the parameter list because I wanted to pull parameters out. So I'll come back down here and do that. There should be two arguments here for this. There should be, and so the usage will say weapon. Did I say weapon equip or weapon? A weapon / weapon. And then this will be weapon type. All right, so if we don't get that, if we don't see two words there on the string, weapon type, we'll just return an error to the console. At this point here, though, I want to get a weapon type out of this, and that's combat manager dot weapon type. Weapon type. Whoops, you had it highlighted. Weapon type equals, and I will want to go to the combat manager. No, not command. Combat manager dot instance dot do I have my get type from string, and it'll take a type string, which would be args sub 2, I believe. Let's go back and check really quickly, see how we used this. Arg sub 1, arg sub 2. So arg sub 1 will be the first argument there, sub 1. Okay. If the weapon type equals, and that's going to be combat manager weapon type dot weapon none. That may have been an error that they typed. That's the default you get back. So I'll say console dot add string, and in that case, that we would be equipping. No such weapon type plus colon plus arg sub 1, and then return. If it does make it through here, though, I will want the then I would have the weapon type of another sort. Combat manager. This routine can only return one of the predefined weapon types here, nothing else. So I don't need to do a lot of error checking here. But I will have a weapon type, and so the weapon type will actually be weapon type. Okay, I don't have to do that. What's its complaint here? Cannot convert to game object to mob. Oh, okay. NPC. NPC is a mob? I believe it is. So that should be fine. Add string output may not have been set. And so in that case, output equals equipping plus the weapon type. Well, it sure would be nice to know what that weapon name is here. So I will go to the combat manager and ask it to give me another public string. Actually, this would be a good thing to do right above here. Well, actually, I've got the weapon type name here. I'll just print out the args here. Args sub 1. There. That's good enough. I was going to print out the actual name of the weapon from the weapon itself. So let's see if that works. Save my scene. Let it finish compiling its stuff here. And then I'll start the game. Now I'll have to find myself a spawned NPC, not one of these guys here. I don't see anything hanging out in front of the hut, so I'll just zip back over here onto this scene here. Okay. So I will pick one of these guys here, and I will say weapon and stone club, and I don't know that it did anything there. I didn't get an error message. I didn't get anything else. Let's stop and see what we have here. Console, an element with the same key already exists in a dictionary. Oh, all right. Let's find out where that is. Load weapon data has a problem. Combat Manager 132. Okay. 132 is here. No, that's not the command. Oh, I didn't save this out for one thing. That's a problem. So I guess I can't really complain if it has an error, because it probably wood club wood club. Why is there 2 wood clubs here? Oh, I must not have. Alright, there should be 6 weapons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Somebody's not in here, and I don't know who it is. Well, one's club 3. No, club 1. Club 1. I don't know which one's missing here. So, wood club, bow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Spear. So let me pause this and go find out which one of my weapons is missing. Okay, the problem was the stone sword was in there, was missing. I don't know if that's going to fix this, but first step is get rid of all the exceptions, and then we'll come over here and see if it finds it. If I pick a weapon here that Boss Orc is probably not a good choice to make for right now because he scales, and I probably want to scale his weapon too. Weapon, stone club. No such weapon. That's good. Weapon, wood club. And I didn't get an error message or a success here. Okay, that tells me something. Exceptions, the object you want to instantiate is null. And so what we'll do is on weapon, equip weapon, instantiate. So Combat Manager 83, and I go down here to 83, equip weapon, and the prefab didn't exist. Wood club is wood club, which is weapons club 1. Okay, is there a in the resources? There's club 1 right there. So all right, so I don't think that's a problem with this data here. But it may be a problem with the way the prefab is being instantiated. So I'm going to pause the video and go take a look at that. What I'm going to look at is the NPC instantiation really quick. Okay, what I didn't include was the models part of the path. So that's the problem there. And indeed, when I looked at the spawn point and I saw how it had models put the prefab name, really that's kind of what I want to do here too. I could probably just copy this and go back to the Combat Manager, who will have it at line 83, where we load combat name, and it won't say prefab name, but it'll say prefab. Okay, and models should be double quote there. So that looks okay. I don't need to have meaningful error messages for all of that stuff because these are things that are compile errors or coding errors that once you fix them, they're fixed. What I am likely to run into are prefabs that don't exist, which we did already see. Alright, so let's go up here to you. Running into you probably isn't as big of a danger as those other guys. Weapon, wood club. And nothing happened. So let's just pause this real quick. Object want to instantiate is null. Oh, really? And equip weapon, Combat Manager 83. I'm going to have to print this stuff out. Okay, so let's go look at this. 83 models prefab, the weapon type prefab. The prefabs are all loaded right here, and wood club prefab right there. So I don't think that we should get a null out of this. Game object instantiated resource loads. Okay, so I'm going to pause this and I'm going to put some debug prints in here and check it, and then I'll come back and explain what the problem was. Okay, so I found the problem. The problem was that when I copied that string from the the string with the instantiate the models path models slash whatever, I'd omitted the quote. Well, when I omitted the quote, and of course I put it back in, I didn't realize that Visual Studio had interpreted the slash as an operator, and it inserted a space before and after it, which caused the path to be wrong. So my debug print here shows the weapon path here as being correct, and it did include it. And we also see that the models are not being ignored by the projector, which is something I can fix. But if I say weapon bow, oh, you don't know bow because it has to be there. Oh, he got a bow too. So now when a weapon, let's see, what's another one here? Stone pick, I think, was one. Then we're not getting rid of the old weapons here. It's just attaching them, and it's not attaching it very nicely there because it's flipped, which is not the what I expected. The transform is being applied on all those, but stone pick may have had a problem or two. Let me go find a couple of other weapon names, and we'll go from there. Okay, two more we can pick are stone axe and spear. Weapon, stone axe. That looks okay. And weapon, spear. Okay, so it's not getting rid of the existing weapon. So we're going to have some code in there to get rid of the pre-existing equipped weapon if there is one. And that means also initializing the equipped weapon as null and saving the equipped weapon type inside the mob so that we can go and remove it from the hierarchy. Or I might be able to just say go and remove all of the children from the primary and secondary attach points. That would probably be a good idea. Note that we don't have to explicitly delete them. We could they should be orphaned, although if they're instantiated objects, we probably want to delete them rather than just letting them float out into the world. So that's a couple of things I can do right now, and I will do that and come back. And it's also, I will go and exempt all of these things from the projector. Okay, so here's where the spaces were that was causing me problems there. Now, on how to get rid of existing children, I'll have a attachment point, which is a transform, and what I would like to do is get rid of all of the children of it. Now, I don't know. Yeah, I think I can do it this way. For I'm going to treat it as if there is more than one. Transform dot let's transform child in attach point, and then I'll just say game object dot destroy child dot game object, and I think that should take care of deleting that. I've also updated, I believe I've updated all of those models. It's really easy to overlook some of that, and I'm kind of rushing a little bit, so I'm going to zip over here. Once again, I'm ignoring my static spawns because they're not really part of the game world, and I'm not going to predict what's going to happen to them. Fortunately, we found an orc. Weapon wood club, and we get a wood club in his hand. Weapon bow. Oh, I deleted all of the objects in the attach point, but not both attach points. Weapon spear. Okay, that flipped that out. That looks good. Weapon stone pick. I don't know what happened to it. Oh, his stone pick seems to have the wrong transform here. I probably dropped a sign someplace when I was transforming it or copying it across there. All right, so I think the basic idea is pretty good. I'm going to go take a look at the stone pick transform here, which is this first one here. And I'm particularly looking at rotation, which, yeah, it'd be tempting just to say that maybe this should have been negative 77 here. Let me see what happens if I do that. The correct thing to do would, of course, be to move it and record the transform position. But as I suspect I just dropped a sign, it's worth a couple of seconds just to do this. So I believe that was stone pick that was causing me some trouble there. And I'll say weapon, oops, that should be slash weapon, stone pick. Whoops. No, not happening there. All right, so I'm going to, what I'll do is I'll just pause this. And why did you reset the scene back here? I was pausing it. You'd think you'd leave the camera view there. I want to go over that. So I'm going to pause this and fix my pick. Okay, there's the stone pick. I may make some other adjustments there. It was kind of hard for me to eyeball it on the other model when I couldn't go back into game view because of this guy. Weapon, spear. So a little bit loosely held, but I think that probably would be okay. That's how we can attach and unattach weapons, and we'll also see that we have all that data that we could get from the weapon data. Now I don't have the weapon damage information saved in there, so I'm going to go update that really quickly. Okay, now I want to import some animations. I've added some in here, but I need to adjust the importer settings. So I look at are some some of the existing animations that we see. The model settings, I don't think those are really going to be important. The rig, though, should have an animation type of humanoid and copy the avatar from the orc model avatar. So when I come down to Orc Bash, for example, this is one of the new ones, we'll see that and it should be the orc avatar, the orc model avatar. Okay, that should be applied. And I don't know if that's a problem with it doing this. Copy orc model avatar animation then would be have things baked into their poses, and some of them might be looped idle. I'm not sure why it isn't being looped because that's typically what you do with these animations. So I'm not really sure why that isn't. I'm going to loop that and then apply it. Bashing would not be looped though. Look at the settings for one of our existing animations here. And then we look at these guys here. It's going to need to have these baked into their pose. Okay, and so I'll apply that. We should take a look at this and see body orientation, original center of mass. Body orientation, center of mass. Okay, that looks okay. We don't have other settings there. The materials are just going to be imported. Materials for Bash are imported. So I think those are the three changes that we need here. Here's a spell casting one. Again, humanoid, copy from it. Avatar would be the orc model avatar. Okay, apply animations. Don't need to loop them, but I do want them to be baked into their pose. And oh, that's the fireball. I'm not sure what's going on with Smash here. That's a little weird here. Something may be wrong with this with this guy here, and I'll have to look at that. But I'm still going to go through the steps that we would do and apply that animation, bake this into the pose, apply. Okay, the taunt, rig, humanoid, copy from avatar, select this. You note that the avatar choices are disappearing as I do this because I'm not bringing in new avatars for these guys, which is fine. And I think that might be all of them. So we should be able to go into the animator then and drag in one of these things. And I don't need their name Mixamo though. That would be kind of bad. This one was, I don't know which one it is. I'm going to delete it, and then let's go take a look at the animations for this. They should have their animation names changed to something appropriate, like Idle 3, Orc Idle 3. So I'll copy that, and then I will create something similar to that. I'm going to do that with these other animations. Okay, I've gone in and brought in a couple more animations. I had to go back out to Mixamo because some of my older animations didn't work anymore, and they were kind of flipping the guys inside out. Some of them do here. We can see an idle animation. Here's another one. These are looking okay. You can probably barely see them down here in the corner. That's fine. One thing I'll note though is that the names when they come in need to be changed. So this would need to be changed to Orc underbar bash and so on. I'm not going to bother you with that, but I did go out there. Also, if you're like me, this thing sometimes comes down here so you can't see it. I'm looking for the preview. You have to drag it back up into the scene, and then you can just hit the play there. We can, of course, drag it into the import that. We can drag it in here and set it to a default to see it in game. That's fine, but the other thing that I usually do is to bake the transforms into the pose. I'm not doing that right now, and I'm not sure that I think that's a problem, but I'm going to run the animations and see if I get one. A problem before I go and do that. So let's go think about what it's going to take to get these animations to play. I also see a whole lot of exceptions here for reference not set to an object here, and I'm a little concerned about where those are coming from. Those are GUI layout things, model importers. Those may be just messages that I was from when I was working with this guy, and so we can ignore them. But I did see a lot of those, so I'm going to keep my eyes out for scenes that are creating a problem. I do have some no reference exceptions here that I see came about from model importer, and I do not know why that would be either. This is not in my code. It could have been that the scene is using an older animation that I don't have anymore. So we're going to pause and I'm going to look at that for a second. And this is an old bug that's been around for quite a while in Unity, at least since 2015. I restarted Unity and it went away. Some people have reported closing and reopening the animation windows can fix it. But at any rate, it's not a real problem there. Just make sure you save all of your files first beforehand. And those messages, the exceptions had something about build slave, model import editor. So not going to be a problem now. Now, what are we going to do to get those to play? The model, the animation controller, I should say, is this orc control, and it's pretty much the old Ethan controller now, and I want to put some more changes into that. So what I wanted to do is really create a on the base layer. I want to create some more animation groups because I want to bring all these things in here. So what I will want to do is create a sub-state machine. Here would be good, and that's all right. We're going to start the animations in this, and then we'll send them to grounded. Okay, so the new state machine is going to be named melee. Okay, and what I will do is bring it in here and click on this, and we'll have again any state entry. Not interested so much in exit. Let you move over here, and then the up to the base layer is where we're going to go. On entry, I want to bring in some possibilities of things here. The bash is certainly a good one. So the fireball will be a casting animation. Upward thrust is good for the spear, I think. I see that one did not get renamed. So I will have to go over here and say orc thrust. And then apply that. I said I was going to go and do that, and then I got sidetracked with some other things here. So that's a few of our things here. I just need to make sure that there's a transition up to the base layer. Oh, oops. And that would take us to grounded when we're done here. Make transition up to the base layer grounded. I think is what I want to do. Why are you not pulling your thing up here? Did that not apply? Pretty sure that it did. So I'm going to delete this one, which is no idea what that one is. It's got to be the thrust. Okay. Make transition up here to state grounded. Now I can just start the animation by name, and then it will return to the grounded layer. I want my bash, of course, to have a transition over here, state grounded. Okay, and so that's the simple thing. I did this as a sub-state machine because I can go and name it, and I can just click on that to get up here. Because I don't have a lot of other state machines here. Now we have the ability, which we didn't have before, to zoom in and out with the mouse wheel. We didn't have to. So you're seeing we get cluttered with all of this stuff. It still can get cluttered a bit, but I'm going to just preserve this thing. Now grounded is running a blend tree that has all of these different walking and running animations, and then it has its idle animation. So that's what the orcs will do. Just a quick review in case it wasn't, it's been a while there. So I'm going to take a look now at what's going to take to run an attack animation. So I'm back in the Combat Manager here. Now, really, what I want to do is just to start it from here, and this will be what's going to be called from the controller. And void, and I'll say process NPC attack. So we'll have an entry point here, mob attacker and mob defender. Okay, and so we can do that. What I want to do here is to say switch off of the attacker. I think I have this attack type here. Nope, I don't. So this should be loaded as part of the weapon selection, or better yet, from the mob itself in the NPC manager. So let me go bring that up here really quickly and see, because what I'm saying is, do we use as I kind of shrunk that thing down, do we use attack spells or weapons? Is our choice here. So the NPC type information has all this stuff in it. NPC type has this. So what I'm going to do is, we have an attack type that was part of the Combat Manager, if you recall. And I'll just zip back up here, and we'll see attack type. So that means that the NPC manager is going to want to keep that as well as here. So a public combat manager dot attack type, whoops, not attach point, dot attack type, and that will be a attack type. And we can just load it out of here, since this is an NPC type here. NPC type sub NPC enum dot, this is the regular orc, and attack type will be equals combat manager attack type dot attack weapon. I'm not going to go and change all of the rest of them. Let's just, or at least I won't do that on the video here. Trying to keep the video down a little bit less than that, but that's the type of thing that we would do. Well, actually, I can do that. That isn't going to take but just a few seconds. And when you have something in an enumeration like this, you can just double click on it, select it, and then double click on that, and that changes it. This one here I want to pick to a different one, so it'll be attack spell. And then I'll come down here, paste this, change the indentation, change this, hit N to start it. This is the boss orc attack weapon. Looks good. Okay, everybody's loaded in there. Now when the NPC is created inside the mob, the NPC constructor is going to be ran, and it will pull data out of the NPC manager. So what we'll want to go back down here to NPC manager while I'm thinking about it is, since I created this new variable, I'm going to create a new accessor here, public combat manager dot attack type, and that's get attack type. And this will take a NPC enum type ID, just like everything else. And I will just copy this body here, since that's a pretty standard thing of looking up in the dictionary, trying the value. The difference is our default, if we can't find the NPC type in here, I don't have an attack type none or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is return attack type dot weapon as my default. And this one here is going to be returning attack type, whatever that was here, and attack type. So that's how we'll export the attack type to the combat, not the combat manager, to spawn point when or I'm sorry, NPC. NPC is what's going to do this. Now we can just say attack type. Do we not have that? You're in mob. Did that not get saved out? I put it in NPC. Public combat manager dot attack type. So we'll want to have that saved in the mob, and that will be set when the NPC here attack type equals an NPC manager dot instance dot get attack type ID. That really shouldn't be set in the mob. That should be set in the NPC, because players aren't going to have that variable. But I'll worry about that later. It's not going to break anything. But what we want to do inside the combat manager then is, I think I started here and saying I wanted to switch off the attacker's attack type. Well, that's why I put it in there, because there'd be mobs, and so we'll have to load that in. Based on what if a player makes an attack, they will put in their value there. So when an NPC attack occurs, we'll have a switch. We have two cases here, which is attack type dot attack weapon, I think I'll do first, and then case attack type dot attack spell. Those are the other one. Put break statements in here. Insert. Okay. I'll put in a default break to do nothing, just as a reminder. This should not be reached because we've enumerated all of the possible attack types that could occur. And one of the things then we'll want to do is to perform an attack animation here. So what I will want to do is say, now who's the that would be, I think, the mob's job to perform the attack animation. They will know what attack animations they have. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Okay, that would be the mob, or perhaps the, well, no, players are mobs too, and they will need to run attack animations. And that's not so much just a multiplayer thing as it is that if we're going to be swinging a sword or something, we want to see the arm of the player model go across. Now, there's no player model right now. I will at some point attach a player model to the controller just so that it can cast shadows and that we can see the arm swinging weapons and things like that across this field of camera view. The mob is going to need to have an animator associated with it that we will need to look up. Private animator, good, you can have that, and that will be done there. Now, where do we get that animator? I have to think about that now. This is probably going to be need to assign to us by somebody else. I don't know that we can look it up at this point. Do we get the game object yet? I don't think we do. There is no constructor for the mob, so everything is being filled in when it's created. Let's see, NPC game object gets set right there, for example. We fill the stuff in out of when the instantiation occurs. So the position, yeah, I'm gonna think about this here. So okay, so when we instantiate the NPC, where is that occurring? NPC is used here, and I'm not seeing that. Oh, it's passed into us when it's spawned. So the spawn group does that. Okay, sorry about that. Spawn group will currently call spawn, and it will create the NPC right there. The NPC does have a constructor that does load stuff up there out of this. So it could, but it doesn't know what the animator is. We don't know the game object. We'll look it up, but the spawn point looks like the one which assigns the game object. So at that point, we would be able to set the animator. We just have to look it up and throw it into the NPC, or rather the mob here. Now I made that private. I guess I could make it public, but I don't know that I want it being changed by anybody. I'd rather have that with a public void set animator anim, and then we would just say this.anim equals anim. That way I can set it and I don't have to worry about somebody else changing it out from underneath me. Okay, so where will the animator be set? Probably the best place to set that is during the character controller when that starts up. I know we're getting kind of a maze of little twisty passages and things like that, but the AI controller, when it starts up, may have the animator, and the thing should be well formed enough that we can get it. Okay, seem to have lost my this thing here. That should have accidentally moved the recording window instead of Visual Studio. So what I want to do here is get the targetable equals game object dot get component targetable. If targetable is not equal to null is one of the things, and as I mentioned in class, this idea of short-circuiting says that now I can use it safely. Targetable dot type equals targetable dot target type dot target NPC. Only they will have an enemy controller. So we shouldn't have anything else with a nobody else should have it here. The NPC, do we save the NPC? We do. Where does that NPC get set here? Because that would be a good thing to set up early on. Kind of scrolling through here, apologize for that. Let me see, just tell me what references there are to this. And we'll see that I see it being used down here because it's passed in. That's a spawn point. I don't want that. I wanted the references within this thing here. In other words, it's not being used. Okay. I just put it there because I was going to probably want to fill it in here. In that case, NPC equals targetable dot data as NPC, and then I want an animator. Anim equals get component animator, and then I can just say NPC dot set animator anim. That's how I can set the animator up so that it is known by the other code here. I was going to have the mob, for example, make this. Now, and I think about this. Really, this NPC. The animator is stored inside the mob here, and so we can store it in the mob's animator. That's fine. The player will have to do that as well in order to run animations, but we'll just need to check that the animator is there. So I think the safe thing to do then is to go back into the mob and make sure that this is initialized to null. And that I think it should be, but I'm going to explicitly initialize it to null, and that way we can check inside the mob. The mob is the one that's going to need to run the animations. Okay, and then we can do it right down here. Public void perform attack animation. Okay, now switch the attack type. Depends on the attack type there. Case combat manager dot attack type dot attack. Oh, come on, you just had it. Dot attack weapon, and what I'll do is do an anim dot crossfade, and I will have to give it the name of the attack. I'm just going to hard code an animation name in here for right now. I probably should make that weapon specific though, and we do indeed have those. We look at this. Orc underbar bash would be a good candidate for this, so I will say orc underbar bash, and we can just do break here, and case combat manager dot attack type dot attack spell would be using anim.crossfade, and I think that's orc fireball break. Okay, that would get us the that particular animation there. I'm going to add one more method in here that I don't need right now, but that's to perform death animation. and that we be anim dot. Now this is inside mob here. Crossfade, and I should have a dying animation. I don't know if I put one in here. I don't think I did. See if there's one up in the base layer. No, there isn't. So I will still have the code in here to call it, even though it won't exist here. Dying, everybody should have a dying animation then. Why is crossfade not? Oh, because I didn't give it a speed here. Look at this, normalized transition duration, 0.05f is a good thing here, 0.05f and 0.05f. Okay, so now the animations are going to run. Why are you? Oh, because there's no semicolon after that. Okay, so there's the animation there. Now to make it happen, we'll have to go back inside the character controller actually, because that's what's doing the attacks, and in particular down inside chase. Note here, turn to face target, do this. This is where the attacks are going to be done. What we want to do here is when we're within this range here, we'll want to first of all check to see, well, let me just run the attack animation here, but there's going to be a bit of a problem here. And combat manager dot instance dot process NPC attack, and this would be NPC, it's our current who we are, and then the target. Do I have the target mob out here? I have target as a I have target as a transform. I don't think I do have target as a mob. So I do have set target that takes a target. Think about this. I need to have the mob that we're attacking. And I could go to the NPC and get its target. Would it not have that? No. Wait a minute. Mob might. And doesn't look like it does there. So I'm going to have to, I've got a little bit of a problem here. And this is going to be the NPC's current target. Obviously this is not code that I'm going to be able to compile. So it's been an hour and a half. I'm going to stop the video right here with this. I know I can't run the animations, and I really wanted to, but we'll have that as a goal for next time. The animations are in there. The crossfades will work. That's not going to be a problem. We're going to need to solve cooldown problem too, and that's where the attack speed comes in there. We will have to have a coroutine that will implement the cooldown so that it will prevent repeated attacks, because what will happen here, if we leave this code in here to do the NPC attack, it'll do it every frame, and that will be a pretty ugly thing. So let me just save this video out here, and we'll continue this next time.